Hey guys, it's Saray here. I hope you all are having a lovely day. So from the 19th to the 25th of September, Deaf Week is celebrated to bring awareness to the deaf community, as well as recognize the achievements, the culture, the history, and the language of the deaf community. As many of you may not be aware, my parents, my mother and father, are actually both hearing impaired. If it wasn't for them, I don't know where I'd be today. They are heavily influential in my creation of my music. Their morals and their ethics, the way that I've taught me, really goes into my lyrics and is the reason why my sound is what it is today. Last year, I started a hearing project. It's to bring hearing impaired people closer to music and make it more readily and available to them in terms of listening quality and experience. That is my mission. That's the reason why I'm Saray. It's backwards for hear us, hear the little people in terms of creators, rappers, artists, but as well as hear the deaf community. With that being said, I want to give you a few tips on how to be a better listener and the do's and don'ts when running into a hearing impaired person. As Stephen O'Keefe says in his TED Talk, there are 3 key points on how to be a better listener. 1. Complete focus on the other person that you are conversating with. Hearing impaired people work well when full attention is focused on them. You're able to open up the conversation a lot more because you are listening, you are understanding their points and able to roll off it a lot more. 2. Listen with your eyes. I know with my mother and father, they heavily rely on body movements, body actions, of course, sign language. If it wasn't for body language and everybody was just stiff, the only way that my parents could read and understand a conversation is through lips, and that in itself is very difficult. If you have more hand gestures, more movement with your body, you are able to physically express your emotion, your love a lot better, and therefore the conversation, the way you are listening as well, would be heavily increased. 3, and the final one is to listen with your heart. I know Stephen O'Keefe says it in a different way, but in my interpretation, to listen with your heart is to also understand how to bounce back a conversation. If you are too closed off and you don't feel your heart is ready to talk to someone, the conversation and the listening is already down the drain beforehand. So to listen with your heart is the most important thing. Now, the do's and don'ts of conversating with a hearing impaired person. Do be patient. When you're able to conversate with patience, a lot of things open up. If you're a lot more slow and calm with it, the conversation is going to be able to flow quicker. The other hearing impaired individual is not going to have to ask you so many times to repeat that. With patience comes a great conversation with a hearing impaired person, and the better able you're going to be able to understand not just the person but the community. Don't yell. Yelling is going to do a few things. It's going to introduce more aggressive bodily actions, which can scare the hearing impaired person away, and losing clarity. The clarity has just gotten worse because by you screaming, you're not really controlling your lips, so they're not going to understand even more. If you just stop yourself from yelling, relax, think, how do I approach this another way? Maybe I can write it down. Maybe I can sign it, use hand gestures. Maybe I can just talk slowly. Even just talking slowly like this, if you can just control the way your lips are moving, the conversation flies a lot easier. The next few clips you're going to see are from an interview that I did last year. It is an interview with Philip Nicard, an audiology clinic manager at MQ Health and Liverpool Hospital. I've asked him some questions about how we can better understand the hearing impaired community, as well as how we can make music more readily available and a better experience for the hearing impaired. So enjoy, I hope you guys like it, and I'll catch you later. Have you worked with any hearing impaired musicians at all?
Yeah, I have as an audiologist and I have as a musician.
How would a hearing impaired person compared to a hearing person connect with music?
You know, I've been on stage with people who have different degrees of hearing loss. People with hearing impairment or people who are deaf don't necessarily all have issues telling the pitch of a sound. Some of them have really accurate pitching. A lot of really good musicians I've played with who have hearing impairment, and yeah, you would not know. And they're always in tune, they're always on time. And that, for me, that, you know, I knew these people before I studied audiology, and it always gave me a sense of perspective when I was doing clinical work that, you know, hearing loss isn't really, if hearing loss isn't a barrier to playing music, then it's not really a barrier to anything. It doesn't have to be a barrier to anything.
How would you describe the MQ Health and Speech Hearing Clinic? Oh, Health, Speech and Hearing Clinic.
Yeah. So we have audiology services and speech pathology services, so we kind of cover a range of communication concerns that people in the community might have. We don't have a specific kind of program for music, for example, although a lot of Macquarie researchers look at how music perception changes with hearing loss.
Okay.
What we do in the clinic is we try to, get an individual view from each client about what they want to achieve and what they find important. And if that happens to involve music, then we will try to kind of tailor our advice and the solutions we offer towards that.
Thank you, Philip. That was a great interview, and all the information you gave me was very appreciative and valuable towards my project. So thank you.
No
I
worries.
appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.